A bill in Idaho to add the LGBT community to those legally protected from discrimination has now been killed. The legislation, dubbed the Add the Words Bill by supporters, would have added sexual orientation and gender identity to Idaho's Human Rights Act, which currently bans discrimination based on race, sex, color, religion, and national origin. So they will not have the LGBT community added to that list of ways you cannot be discriminated against. But that's not to say that it hasn't had any effect whatsoever. One Idaho Republican was actually quite affected by the testimony of individuals before and against the bill, including members of the LGBT community. Here is a statement from that Idaho Republican.
My heart has been touched by this hearing. I've gotten to know you. And I know that from this point on, forever, I will be kinder and I will be more compassionate to those who bear a heavy burden. Somewhere in Scripture it says that if we are not kind to the needy and to the lonely and to the afflicted and to those who bear a heavy burden, our prayers will not be answered. And I will be kinder and I will be more compassionate. While I'll support the original motion, I'd like to go on record that I will support a compromise.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Oh, that's so bold of him.
So we don't discriminate sometimes.
But let's be clear about what happened. He voted against gay rights.
Yes.
He said, I support to make sure that they do not get this protection that everybody else has, okay? Yeah. But later, I'll consider being kinder. I won't consider voting for them, right? And, and that bothered me so much. Look, in some ways, it's great, of course. I mean, here's a guy who at least heard the testimony of 200 Idaho residents. Some were, on his side, but a lot were against, saying, hey, this is the things that I've gone through. He heard, this is how we heal, this is the process, right? But at the same time, he doesn't get it. He keeps saying being gay is a heavy burden and they are afflicted. Yeah. And so he's just saying, I'll be more sympathetic to you guys because it's obvious that you guys are broken, right?
Yeah.
And
there's a cure out there.
And as a good Christian, I'm supposed to be sympathetic towards you guys with your burden of being gay, right?
I don't think if he fundamentally believed that it was a choice, though, I don't think he'd use the burden terminology. Like, I think to say that, you have to, on some level, believe that it's an inherent part of what makes up a person.
Maybe he feels conflicted in the sense that he was like, okay, I understand that it's a burden. You've been afflicted with gayness, but I can't let your gayness be treated equal in my culture.
Yeah.
So
that might be something.
He's really conflicted. Maybe
First of all, he should. It sounds like he's doing a promo for a dating site. Like, I care about the lonely. I care about those sitting in dark corners alone in the evening with the affliction of being desperate. And I mean, that's like a farmersonly.com or some ad or something. I would like to introduce a bill that puts an end to crying in politics. It's just, politicians didn't used to do that. And now it just seems it's very emotional.
You used to end your career.
Pardon me?
You used to end your career at Muskie. You cried it was over.
I mean, and then
let's go back to those good old days.
Let's go back.
That what he's saying is what every minister says about gay people today.
Yeah. Yes.
It is what you said. It's the gospel speaking. It is we need to extend our hearts to these people, but in the end, there's a cure. There's a salve or a talc or something you can put on it.
There is a bomb.
There's something you can sprinkle on it that will get rid of it. Yeah. Until then, I'm going to support a compromise.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
By the way, what is that?
Bisexuality? So you can beat half the shit out of a gay guy. Leave the other half alone.
I assume it would be protections against certain forms of discrimination. Like perhaps in your business you can discriminate against them, but in like federal housing you can't. I assume. I slightly disagree.
So unequal treatment of gay people. So he supports unequal
Yeah,
treatment.
no,
I
no,
think
I'm not
he-
saying this is a good thing. I'm saying that's almost certainly what he means.
Fair
I
enough.
think he
This would
means-
simply protect against all discrimination, and the people on the right were saying that that would infringe on religious freedom, which is a ridiculous statement, but it's also what they always say.
Yeah.
I think he means that some protections, but not a blanket way that we protect for
He
racial
means-
identity and stuff like that.
He means a compromise. Like if you're a transgendered and you're pretty enough to fool him, then okay.
Let's say you're at a truck stop.
It's the Pat Robertson movie.
Yeah.
You know this. We talked about this. Pat Robertson and the Iranian clergy agreed. Transgenders, okay. I mean, as long as they look pretty, right?
They're passive.
But like gay, no, gay's wrong. Gay's wrong. Okay. So, but look, there's one other part of this that I don't want to leave out. He said at one point in that moving speech, if we are not good to those who have a heavy burden, are needy, and are afflicted, then our prayers will not be answered. In the end, he's just a selfish prick anyway.
Yeah.
He's just trying to like reach out to them so they'd be like, oh, Lord, did I do well? I voted against the sons of bitches, but I cried about it. Now my prayer's going to be answered, isn't it? I mean, I made him a southerner, even though he's in Idaho, but still.
That's your Idaho accent?
You are being geographically racialist or something.
I want to very slightly disagree, not in what you were saying about what he fundamentally thinks about gay people. He might still think the things that you said. And this is Representative Linden Bateman, by the way, and the bill was, it was party lines, 13-4. But the slight disagreement I have, the reason I like this story a little bit more, and I like Linden Bateman slightly more than you three, is just that this feels more like old school politics. Not with the crying, but that someone listened to what was being said and had their opinion changed in any way whatsoever. Like you used to have these great orators go and address the Senate, and they'd debate, and then they'd have their decision. They'd change their mind. And now that never happens. I mean, C-SPAN's on, but nobody on the other side's listening. Like, you know, I'd like to hear what Ted Cruz has to say, or I'd like to hear what Barbara Boxer. Nobody cares at all because their opinions are decided by donors. But on the state level, the local level, you can still have people who listen to human experiences, and it changes them. Perhaps not in the way we'd like, not in a fundamental way, but on some level they've been changed.
I
wanna see more of
disagree
that.
with you.
You weren't affected by what I said?
I wasn't affected at all. The only thing missing from his little speech is I discussed it with my pastor.
Yeah.
And he told me that I should be tolerant, I should love the sinner, hate the sinner. It's just the same rhetoric. And in the end, he didn't vote for shit.
Yes.
Okay. No, I'm
sorry.
In the spirit of Representative Bateman, I'm going to compromise here. And I will still be voting with you guys, but I agree with John. Okay. So, no, John makes a terrific point. Look, there's definitely a kernel of hope here. And one is that you have the conversations and people begin to listen. This is the beginning. It's not the end. They begin to listen, and the more gay people they know, the more likely they are to vote for gay rights. We know
more
that that's
truck
a
stops
fact.
they go to, more roadside rests they go to. No, I know. Keep going.
And so he had to sit there and listen to 200 residents of Idaho, and that began to affect him in some ways. And number two, John is absolutely right. I mean, this experience we have in Wolfpack, that at the state level, there actually still is a democracy. They do listen. And this guy's, it's not based on the donors in this guy's case. It's entrenched opinion that he's had for decades and decades and decades. But at least he was open to it. Whereas at the national level, they're not having a conversation. They're like, wait, tell me again who had more checks, the gays or the non-gays? Okay, right? Whereas
or like the Supreme Court, that's, what gay people are adopting.
Yeah.
I mean, they are.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any evidence that the kids are happy? Or, you know what I mean? Like they're.
Yeah, so I'm going to walk away with the really encouraging thing that I have seen myself because of our activities at Wolfpack, that yes, at the state level, democracy exists and people actually do listen. It's not just about the checks. So that's a great thing.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, John, still voting with them.
Okay.